in a moment. Okay, right. So, hello, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining. And let's get started. I'm going to try and break a habit of a lifetime and be brief this evening. Let's see how it goes. We're looking at digestion from an Ayurveda perspective. Okay. So here we go. Let me just do the screen share. Shut it down. I just have my file up and then I shut it down. All right. My brain is still in holiday mode. Presentations. There we go. That can close. Share screen. All right. That's right. Sorry. Usually do a bit better than this, don't I? In the beginning. There it is. Share screen. There it is. Right. Do you see it? Yeah, I think you see it. I want to try to do full screen. Yeah, we're good to go. Okay. So as we'll take the usual format that we've taken for these talks, where you can please mute your mics. But if you have any questions, if anything I'm not saying as we go along isn't clear, then please do stop me and we can clarify a little bit. And then I'll leave time at the end for your questions. Okay. So, Ayurveda for supporting good digestion and good health. It's a little more than that, but I always struggle with titles which really do Ayurveda justice, but also will kind of mean something to all of you. As usual, I like to start with a quote: all disease starts in the gut. So we're really looking this evening at why it's so important to take care of our digestion. And also, if we have ailments which we might think have nothing to do with the gut, why we need to go back to the gut, okay? Most likely. And we've covered this in these talks, that the three causes of disease in Ayurveda, the three main causes, are classified as wrong use of intellect, misuse of the senses, and the effect of the seasons. So we've covered that, haven't we? But then we've just looked that Hippocrates says that the root cause of disease is in the gut. So what's that about? That's the question I always have for myself. And I think about, this idea of the enteric brain in the guts. And so our behaviors, our thought processes, our attitudes, our stresses, we know these will affect our digestive function. We all know it. And I'm going to refer to our digestive function, our digestive capacity, as our Agni, our digestive fire. And we'll learn that Agni actually encompasses a little bit more than the fire in the gut, but right now I'm talking about that, okay? So all those three will affect the functioning of the digestion. So they will affect the Agni, the fire in the upper part of the gut. Also our lifestyle, our behaviors, the foods we ingest, we've looked at this. And also not only the foods we ingest, but the way we ingest them, the way we take them, in what state, in they're raw or they're cooked, the way we take our meals, all these things, you know, are we sitting down quietly? Are we eating on the go? Are we making regular times for our meals? Or are we a bit all over the place because we haven't managed to develop a steady, balanced schedule? All these things we've looked at, haven't we? So I don't want to go too much into them because I don't want to keep you long. And then also we looked at it in the last time we met, living out of tune with the seasonal biorhythms, because we know that our biorhythms, we're part of nature, so we need to align our behaviors, our food choices, our lifestyle with the rhythms of the season, if we are not to be in conflict with our environment and so end up with this state of dis-ease in our bodies and our minds. And also living out of tune with our own inner biorhythms. So that can be according to our Ayurveda type, according to our age, our stage of life, the times of day, and, you know, through our habitual tendencies and patterns. So we're jumping right into the good old nitty-gritty on Agni. So this evening we're going to cover a little bit really of Ayurveda Anatomy. We're going to look at Agni, the digestive fire. We're going to look at the tissues, okay? The tissues we call dhatus, D-H-A-T-U-S, dhatus. We're going to look at the channels that run into and through the dhatus, the tissues. They're called shrotas. We're going to look at ama, toxicity, okay? And a little bit we'll mention ojas, and like essential core strength and vigor, and it's like a constitutional strength and energy, right? And Agni, in a way, is core, key to the function and the health of all those parts of the Ayurveda anatomy. And, you know, when I make these presentations, it comes up so small on the slides that I struggle to read I need to remember to proofread on a bigger slide. So Agni relates to metabolism, okay? Actually, Agni really, in effect, is not only the digestive fire, Agni refers really to metabolic function. When we talk about Agni function, we're really, in a way, talking about how the whole metabolism is functioning. So it's not only in the gut. That means that actually there are 13 Agnis in total. And let's have a look at those. So I want to try and change this. Just put it there. So the first is, can you see it? Yeah, there we go. The first, and it is the main, and it will influence the health of the other Agnis. And we call it Jata Agni. And this Agni is in the first part of the gut. So it's in the stomach and the small intestine, Jata Agni. So this is the Agni that will break down the foods when it's functioning properly, optimally assimilate the nutrients from the foods, and move through the body the waste products for elimination. So already you can get an idea of how important this is. We want to assimilate our nutrients for our health and well-being. We don't want the waste products to accumulate in the body and gather there as, you know, toxins, byproducts of metabolic functions, and as, you know, inner waste, creating all kinds of problems. When they accumulate, that challenges the Agni. It's one of the things that challenges the Agni, because the Agni then has to deal with this accumulating toxins and burning them off and processing them to keep the body healthy. And so it can't work that hard, you know, there's not as much fire there, let's say, to process and break down the foods and assimilate them. So we've got this key Agni in the gut, right? And it starts to break down the foods and it sends through the gut what we don't need. And then what we do need begins to be assimilated. And first of all, the next Agnis in this process of breaking down the nutrients and assimilating them as food for the body, we call Pancha Bhuta Agni. Pancha is 5. And these Agnis, so there's 5 Agnis. Bhuta is an element. So they're the 5 element Agnis. And they live in the liver. So they support the metabolic functions, all the myriad, many functions of the liver. And from there, so part of the food is broken down a little bit further in the liver. And then we start to work through the tissues. We call them dhatus. And in each tissue, there's an Agni. So there's a fire in each tissue because the food has already been refined a little bit, right? Through the Jata Agni and then in the liver Agnis, the Panchabhuta Agnis. And then it starts to move into the body to feed the tissues with food. And so it needs those fires to refine it and break it down a little more for assimilation and absorption because it is creating those tissues literally. Like when we hear you are what you eat, it's literal. So so we have these 7 tissues, and what happens is it will go through each tissue layer. I'm going to go through them with you in a moment. And each time the food moves from one tissue to another, the remaining nutrients and kind of food parts are broken down and refined a little more. Okay, moving then, the remainder then moves into a deeper tissue and so on until you come to like the most refined essential part of the food for assimilation, which you'll be quite surprised to see what that final kind of deepest tissue is. So here are the Dhatu Agnis, 7 tissues. There are 7 dhatus. Let's have a look at them. Okay, I missed a slide. Can we just go here? I don't know what's happening with me tonight. I didn't see this one. So just to recap before we go into the dhatus, so when Agni is impaired, obviously Agni, we've equated it already to metabolism, the metabolic function is impaired. We've kind of done this already, but let's recap. Nutrients aren't properly assimilated or broken down, so we know already that's going to affect our health, our resilience, our potential for immune strength and resistance. It means Ojas will be weakened. Our Ojas is like that constitutional core strength and vigor, and it gives us longevity. It's not in itself immunity, even though it's often talked to us of as if it is. But immunity needs good Ojas and it needs good Agni function. So this Ojas is going to be supported by good Agni function. And that Agni function is going to help, as we've seen, us to eliminate the toxic wastes. So that the Agni is not depleted trying to deal with them. And so again, instead, that energy, instead of going to deal with the toxins, is going to boost the strength, the core strength of the body, we can call it, to support the Ojas. Yeah, there we are. We're back to the Jatar Agni, the Panchabhuta Agnis, and the 7 Dhatu Agnis. So that's 13 Agnis, right? 7, 5, and then the Jata Agni. And here are the tissue Agnis. So I've only given you the Sanskrit. I know most of you come with your notebooks, so you might like to take a few notes here. So the food nutrients, they've moved from the gut, they've been broken down a little bit, they've been broken down a little bit further in the liver, And then the first tissue that they move to is rasa. We call it rasa. This is like the fluids in the body. So it's the lymph fluids, and it's also like the fluid part of the blood plasma. Okay, so very key to our health and our sense of well-being and our sense also of like confidence and that more subtle inner strength. And so the food is broken down a little bit, assimilated by rasa, and what remains moves into rakta, which is red blood cell tissues. Broken down, assimilated, refined, so that then it can move into mamsa, which is muscle tissue. Okay. And from mamsa, what remains moves into meda. So you can see we're going into deeper and deeper tissues, and the food parts are being more and more refined and assimilated. So you're getting right down into towards the like most essential part of the nutrient part of the foods. Meda is the fat tissue. And so these four that we have in the left channel are like, they're the most superficial tissues. So these are the ones that when we come to talk about cleansing processes soon, these are the ones that we can really work with to try to rebalance, cleanse, and then restore vigor to the body. From meda, we go to asti, the bones. And you'll see actually that I've got these little symbols of the elements next to each one. So rasa is governed by kapha dosha, rakta by pitta dosha. So mamsa also muscle, it's about structure, function. So there's kapha there. Asti, though, even though it seems like it's like the hardest structure, asti actually is governed by the air and ether elements, so it's vata. Okay. Then we have maja, so really getting into deeper tissues. And so, if you think about the diseases that might dwell in these different tissues, it's almost like, isn't it? The deeper they go, the more difficult they are to correct. Like you can think of, like in the asti, we have the vata dosha there. And so it's like arthritis might be considered to be like ama, the toxicity has been allowed to move through these tissue layers. And by the way, it will take quite a long time, quite some years, for the toxins, the ama, to move through these into these deeper layers. Okay, so maybe when we're like young adults, it's in the more superficial layers, and then when we're in our 50s, it's in these deeper layers. So we're getting like hip and joint problems, maybe even nerve like later if we're not lucky. In the maja, central nervous system, brain, bone marrow, maybe deeper like neurological conditions. But you can see they haven't happened overnight. They're a cumulative result of an accumulation of toxicity, and we all know people who seem to have lived relatively well and still have these deeper conditions, appear in their lives, in their bodies, in their minds, in their nervous systems. So there can be, of course, genetic predispositions, your doshic predisposition, just that you've been living out of alignment, attunement with your own, constitutional nature and type. Your Agni has been impaired, even though you've been eating the great foods. Your lifestyle hasn't supported the good assimilation of them, and so on and so on. I think you're all getting that idea. And then the seventh tissue is like the essence of the foods. It's really, I think, quite wonderful, because this is like the reproductive essence. This is the reproductive tissue. So this is like the essence of us, the essence of what is going to make the human being. And it's created by the essence of the food, like the most subtle, deepest part of the foods. When we come to cleanse and try to rebalance the Agni and get all the Ama out of the system that's accumulated over the years, then it's these on the left side that we're really working with, and particularly we're working with Meda. It's like there is kind of like a bridge, isn't it? That fat tissue. So there's a lot you'll come to see when we talk about the cleanse programs and protocols. There's a lot of work with oils and oleation, both internal and external. You know, oleation where you're doing like an exchange of good fats for fats which are laden with toxins, holding toxins in the body. Oiling the body tissues so that the toxins are kind of softened, the body's softened, and then you apply heat, sweat, so the channels open and the toxins can go into the gut from these deeper tissues where they've accumulated over many years for elimination. And it's like, so the fats will even go into right down into cellular function, like cells where they're, and then cellular Agnis will work with them. And the good fats, I was just listening to someone talking about it today. It's like the good fats, the healthy fats, they create like a cellular flexibility this man talked about. So you have these gateways open in the cells for absorption of the fats. And the good fats will create like a cellular flexibility, so like a health and the capacity to absorb nutrients, expel the wastes. But like our trans fats and the fats that we get maybe in our junk foods, they're going to come and they create the opposite. They create like a hardness, like an inflexibility. Also, often, you know, they're accompanied by free radicals, right? So you have the oxygen, which will grab an electron. And then, you know, you've got this hardening going on and like a blocking in the channels. So what moves the food particles and the waste into and out of the tissues we call schrotas, channels. So when we're eating foods that are really, really challenging our Agni and which have a toxicity in them, like these trans fats, they're going to be blocking the schrotas, blocking the channels. And so that's creating that hardness. That means the nutrients can't get through to the deeper tissues. Okay, so it's hopefully becoming clear why, yes, we need to do this work. And you'll see, waiting till we're chronically ill, it can help, but it's maybe going to be in some stages of the disease too late. Okay, we don't want things to go right into these deeper tissues before we start to take action. So that's a little recap there. We have the schrotas, the channels that feed the dhatus, and we have the malas, so the wastes that are eliminated when Agnis function well. So that's all your Agnis are supporting not only the assimilation and the breakdown, but the elimination also. And the wastes are called malas. So we can, you know, we have like water solid, we have waste which are byproducts of the metabolism. And again, you can be eating very, very pure foods, but if you're not eating them in the right way or the right time of year or the right time of day or night or, you know, irregularly, all the things we've covered, then you're going to maybe not eliminate well and build too much toxicity, and your system and your channels become clogged. So maybe you can't even sweat well these substances out, or there's just too much. But we can eliminate malas waste through the skin, through sweat, through the poop, through the wee, also through, for women, through the menstrual blood. And then more and more, of course, we're exposed to other toxins these days, like the toxins which are in our environment and on our foods. And a lot of those in the environment are fat soluble, which takes us back to why this Meda Dhatu is going to be so important, and oleation therapy is going to be so important, because even maybe your cleansing, detoxifying herbs that you might take in like a tea or an infusion, they're not really going to be able to get these fat soluble toxins out. We need to support the liver and the tissues to release them through the internal oleation treatments. So these ama toxins, when they accumulate, we know they block the shrotas further, they challenge the Agni, so they're going to further disrupt the digestion. And I talked about it with the arthritis, for example, in the Asti Dhatu, the Dhatu of the bones. They're going to combine with doshas, any excess doshas, to create a disease of that tissue, of that layer of the body, of the being. And so maybe also, maybe I might just add here that, say, for example, then if you are a Pitta type and you have toxicity, then maybe your ama, your toxins are going to meet like a high level of dosha in the Rakta, which is a Pitta tissue. And so then maybe you might be predisposed to diseases of the blood. So like when there's heat and there's toxicity in the blood, we can get different kinds of skin conditions coming up, like red inflamed skin conditions. It's why maybe if you have this thing, then maybe you find it difficult to clear with just a cream, or you stop using the cream and it comes back. And I'm finding myself how difficult, we say in Ayurveda, once something's coming through the skin, it's gone in really deep. So it's actually quite a work to clear it. It's quite an internal work. Okay, so I think you see it's how important it is to reset our digestive function, to take time out to support it, to make sure that it can function optimally. And I'll just stop here, pause here, because I did say that I would give you some indication of the tendencies of the digestion of each dosha type, right? So each dosha type has its own, its Jata Agni is going to have has a particular tendency, right? And if we were sitting together and we had more time, I might put you all on the spot and ask you to kind of think back, but do think now to yourself of the tendencies, the qualities, the attributes that we've looked at of each of the doshas. So let's look at Vata dosha. And we know that one of the main attributes is that irregularity. There's movement there, so there's a tendency towards irregularity. So maybe the elimination when Vata is up becomes irregular, and maybe sometimes they digest well and sometimes they don't. Okay, maybe sometimes they get bloated with a particular food, and another time they can eat the same food and they're not bloated. So the Agni of Vata tends to be irregular. Okay, so resetting the digestion for a Vata dosha is going to be really focusing on re-establishing regularity. And remember that we're in a seasonal transition time. So Vata is strong in our environment in the seasonal transition time. So for any of us right now, we want this to be a focus. We want to support the digestion this way. Vata is also dry, remember, it's a tendency towards constipation. So the internal oleation to remove the dryness is part of a cleanse program, and the ama that's maybe with it, the Vata type ama, really important. So that then, the Vata dosha is not accumulating, combining with ama to create disease in any of the tissues. Then, you know, we have pitta, hot, right? So hot, fire. So you've got even more fire there, right? So you might say, yeah, this means a really good digestion. Yeah, it means that this type maybe has the strongest digestion, but the Agni can still be challenged. Actually, you know, then things can move too fast through the gut. And so you get tendency to loose stools, or there can be too much fire. We get like burning sensations because of the Agni imbalance. Just the pittas up, or hyperacidity, these kind of things, yeah. And then the kapha, we know kapha dosha, remember, heavy, slow, static, earth and water. You put them together, you make a clay substance. It's great for creating form. There's not much flow there. There's not much penetration there, right? Like there is in the vata and the pitta. So it's like a slow metabolism, not weak, right? Slow. So digestion then, Agni will tend to be slow, which means we need to like fire it up a little bit, support it a little bit. And we all go off track. Very few of us are living 100% a good Ayurveda life, which means the more off track we are, the more we need to come back now and again and really reset things. And that's not an invitation to kind of wear two hats, you know, on the one hand, be like doing a detox program. So you've got like carte blanche to go off and indulge in all the bad things. Sooner or later, that will catch up on us and be a stress on the system. It's not a good idea. But I think you know what I'm saying. Sometimes we just, it's really hard to stick to it 100%, isn't it? And 70% is good. But even then, you know, we have phases, we go on holiday, we're right off track. We want to come back and reset. Even if we're living like a really good Ayurveda balanced life, because of the effect of the seasons, because the seasons will affect also the dosha function, and so the dosha function will affect the Agni function. We want to do the seasonal readjustments. We want to get any accumulated ama out of the system with seasonal cleansing, so that the Agni isn't depleted, weakened, so that we can sustain our health, our immunity, our resilience, and our longevity. So, you know, then maybe we cleanse at those big like seasonal junctures of the year, winter into spring and summer into autumn. We're going off track sometimes. Maybe we can do these big cleanses, and like every other month or at other seasonal junctures, you know, we can do like a more like 3-4 day digestive reset with herbs, infusions, and foods that are going to kind of cleanse the colon and also heal the lining of the colon, soothe and heal it. Because when we get ama building up in the colon, you know, it can build up as funguses, as parasites, and they also, it can feed those, and they damage the lining of the intestine. This kind of leaky gut syndrome that people talk about. Well, we can take foods that will really help to heal that and clean the little villi on the lining of the intestine, which help the assimilation of the nutrients, you know, just to put it all into a little bit of a Western language, even though it's not really my language. But I think you get the message there. So there you can really combine. It's really beneficial. And then, you know, if you've been living out of balance and living against your own natural rhythms for a long time, then maybe also, you know, to go into a strong cleanse program is going to make you maybe feel sick. It's going to be, there needs to be maybe some quite a long-term preparation. So we have two approaches. We have like a shamana approach, we call it. I didn't write that down, but I'll write it for you now. So shamana approach to cleansing and clearing the body is a more gentle approach. It's more long-term, but it's more gentle. And then shodhana, purification, it's going to be a little more intense and severe. So we need to look at the body and our lifestyle and our history to see, you know, where we need to go, where we need to start also. You know, so there you can go through a personalized program, including like herbs to clean the deep tissues, spices to clean them, help clean the tissues and the guts, treatments, body treatments to help move everything out of the tissues over a period of time. Okay, so I have 2 programs coming up, and one is coming up soon around the time of the equinox, isn't it? It's a 4-day program, and this is really suitable for all of us. And it's a good preparation if you wanted to do a bigger seasonal cleanse in autumn. And if you want to join me, it's really going to support your Agni to come back to balance. That's the whole goal of it. So restoring the Agni involves not challenging it as much. So, you know, we will go on a mono diet with those foods I mentioned, with khichdi, with special teas, and also with herbs to help the eliminative function and the drawing of the toxins out of the tissues. And even this can go a long way to help. And it's recommended every now and again, you know, maybe 3-4 times a year as we move from one season to another, you can do this. And then also, what about a bigger cleanse? You know, if we're talking about a seasonal cleanse where we're not only resetting the Agni, but we're really wanting to draw these toxins that have possibly accumulated throughout our lives deep in the tissues. Well, here in the seasonal junctures, it's a great time to take on a deeper cleanse. And I did this in the spring with a group, and some of them want to do it again, so that's a good sign that they got a lot out of it. It's a 10-day program. You do eat, but don't starve yourself, okay? And there's a preparation time, getting rid of all the stuff that's maybe challenging your Agni, slowly introducing the herbs to deeply cleanse the tissues and support your Agni function so they can really process, your Agnis can really process the toxins being released, okay? It's not only purifying in this way, it's also rejuvenating. And if there are any like initial stages of disease, it's going to really help to reduce them. And we use oleation, oiling, inside, outside, heat treatments, sweating, so you can come to me for those body treatments, or show you how you can kind of work this way at home. Herbal and dietary therapies. So herbs to take at night, formulas to take during the day, special teas. And then we're kind of supporting through these days the release of the toxins from deep in the tissues, through the liver, back into the gut. And then we want to, you know, we talked on the one hand about these fat-soluble toxins. And also we want the gut to be able to eliminate fully these toxins that have been moved back into the gut, so they're not sitting there for too long and they're reassimilated, because then we feel really rubbish, okay? So we need to get them out, and we do that with a purgation. And also that purgation is with an oil. So that helps like this exchange of good oil with toxin-laden oil from the liver. The liver's invited to release what's been clogging it up and congesting. And that's also goes for the deeper tissues also. You know, through the support of the liver can then do greater work, give greater support to the other tissues of the body. And then I said here that we follow it by Rasayana treatments. So Rasayana, we've talked about Shamana and Shodhana treatments. They're kind of lightening, they're breaking down, they're reducing, they're getting rid of what's not supportive. The Rasayana is nourishing, it's rejuvenating. So first we have to get rid of, eliminate, and then we want to build up and strengthen and rejuvenate. And we do this with special herbal formulas, which you can take after the cleanse. It's fantastic to, reinvigorate your body and your mind. And also from an Ayurvedic perspective, and I hope that you understand now why, it's actually essential if we want to sustain our health. And so, support longevity. There are some instances where it's not really appropriate to do the long cleanse. Okay, so if you're in the later stages of disease, so in Ayurveda there are 6 stages of disease. So when we come to real chronic illness, we need to do a personalized program to support the symptoms, to support the doshas, of course, to support the Agni, but in a very kind of gentle and personalized way. Those with heart disease, diabetes, and other chronic ailments, sometimes with the say-so of your, GP, your doctor, it's possible, but it needs careful consideration and permission from a professional. During menstruation, so if you're thinking, I'd like to do this program, and then you find your menstruation starts around the dates of the program, that's not a good idea that you do the 2 together. So what I'm offering, you'll see the dates for the program soon, is you can do it to suit your own schedule. So it won't mean that you get the live talks and things. You'll get the recording of them, but the rest is pretty much, there's no difference because you're doing it at home anyway. If you have chronic digestive and eliminative ailments, the purgation, the digestive reset can be really supportive, but the other program with the purgation and the internal oleation, we're not going to want to do. Because if we do the internal oleation, we have to do the purgation to get rid of what's been released. And it's just not appropriate. Weak and debilitated. That's why sometimes we need to do a program of preparation first before we go into the strong cleanse, so that it doesn't make us feel really ill and worse. Fever, also severe anxiety or depression, clinical levels. And so maybe particularly, when you're dependent on the medication and you can't come off it, to do such a program. And also, I didn't put it on because we're much younger these days at 60, aren't we, than we were in the past. But when we get to a certain age, the tissues are already starting to reduce as part of the aging process. We know this. And the cleanse program is reducing. So we don't want to speed that tissue reduction process up. So then it maybe needs post 60 or maybe 60 plus 65. Needs a little personalized assessment as well. Do you have the vigor and vitality to do this? And most of you coming to me, you're doing the yoga daily. You do, but we would assess. In any case, I do a mini assessment for each one that joins the program. Dates. So I'm on holiday till the 14th, and then digestive reset program just before the seasonal juncture date, right, on the 21st of September equinox, 4 days. You'll get the recipe for your teas and for the oils that you need to buy, and the herbs. Sometimes I supply them, sometimes I will give you the links. It all depends for where to buy them, but it means please let me know in good time if you're going to join, so we have time to get everything set up for you, your shopping list, the foods that you're going to need. And if you're doing this, you need to be able to rest and avoid excessive exercise, not be in a stressed environment, because your body is already working hard. And if you're challenging your body's energy and if you're challenged mentally also, if you have work to do, like mental work to do, physical work to do, then you're not going to feel the benefits of the detox program, because the digestive reset program also, because the energy is going out instead of in to restore and repair. So that's the same for the autumn detox program, even more, all right? Said it already, if you can't make these dates, you can do the program to your own schedule. And then if you're in later, so if you have chronic ailments, basically, that means, then please contact me. You know now how you can maybe work through your Agni to reduce symptoms and support your body. You know, if not cure, sometimes we can cure, depends on the stage of disease. Sometimes not. Sometimes the karma is there to cure, sometimes not. But we can always do something to support with Ayurveda, with yoga. So it's worth putting the effort in. We have to. I did some work once with one macrobiotics lady, and one of the things she always said was, sooner or later we have to pay for our health. So we either pay in terms of our energy, investing our energy and our time into sustaining and supporting our health, or we pay later, pay the doctor. Okay, so your choice. I know what I'd rather do. I'd rather give a little bit of time now to take care and feel very pleased with myself about it. So, and you will also, you know, having come through one program and done something for yourself like this,
Well, we want to
feel very pleased with yourself. Okay, so I think we have like one more slide. There. So, a couple more slides. So, contact me, obviously, if you'd like to join any Ayurveda program, or if you'd like to come for a one-to-one session, simply, just to have a personalized assessment and treatment program. And for the body treatments as well, which are wonderful. By the way, when I do these programs, the digestive reset and the cleanse program, you can do your oleation at home. But those of you who are in Warwickshire, around Stratford-on-Avon especially, you can come to me for body treatments. They're really supportive of the process. They're really going to help to soften the tissues, get the toxins out of the tissues with the herbalized oils. Little blessing with my Tara that I have at home. May the light of yoga and Ayurveda bless you and bless your life. Please, you're coming to the talk, some of you, this is the fourth one you've been to. This is not part of the introduction series, of course, but it's more Ayurveda knowledge for you. Please use it. Please apply it. You know, we say in yoga, an ounce of practice is worth a ton of theory. And the same in Ayurveda. Just knowing about it is not really going to do very much. We have to apply it. We have to implement it. And maybe you feel, wow, it's really interesting, but it's a little overwhelming knowing where to start. And come and do the program. Do the 4-day program, because it will be educational. I'm going to educate you more about the digestion and taking care of it going onwards. So as well as practical, you know, resetting, strengthening Agni, is going to be educational. So you can take that knowledge forward for the rest of your life. All right. So I think here I can stop the share. And there you all are. Okay. All right. How did I do? So much for half an hour talk. Just need to get my timing sorted, don't I? Any questions, anyone? I remember no kind of what do I do to fix this problem kind of question here. I can't give personalized advice like that here. We're not addressing like giving fixes for symptoms, but anything else?
Can I ask something, Salma?
Sure.
Is it ever too late?
In what sense?
To redress any bad habits that you may have been living with for so long, and you know, how can you do so much work if the damage is already done?
So there's these 6 stages of disease, right? And we say when you get to like fifth or sixth stage, then it's quite difficult to redress the balance, to restore full health. But of course, we all know those spontaneous healings that people have been told they've only got a week to live or a month to live, and then they find the healing. So spontaneous remissions, people find their ways against the odds. So I don't want to ever say no, that there are some cases using that never or the too late. Yes, it can be too late. It's something I'm not comfortable with saying. There's karma in the picture as well. But if you're talking about, just having had bad habits for the past 50, 60 years, can I redress them? Well, yes. If you're relatively healthy now, then support what you have and maybe undo some of the damage, support your Agni. Now you understand that if you support your Jata Agni, that process, that's kind of like a snowball effect. It's going to go right into the deepest tissues, because then each tissue Agni can work a little bit better. Also, the Panchabhuta Agnis will work. There's less accumulation of ama, there's more assimilation of the nutrients to feed the tissues, like this. Yeah. So don't give up. It's definitely worth. And we reach an age, we want to sustain what we have. We want to maintain what we have. And this I feel really strongly about. And Mandy takes a lot of responsibility for her health, by the way. So I'm not talking to her right now, but our health service is breaking. We have to take responsibility for ourselves. It's unsustainable otherwise.
So true.
So, when I hear people complain about the NHS, sure, my friend works in it, she says it's broken, she'll say it's broken herself. But, it's unsustainable no matter how much money they throw at it, if as a nation we're not taking responsibility for our own health. And there's really no excuse right now, right? Other than being a little bit uncomfortable to break some habits and to change our ways, because the knowledge is out there. Maybe not this knowledge as much as those of us in that world of Ayurveda would like, because as I hope you're finding, it's really empowering because we understand our own individual nature through it, and we have something to work with. It's educational. Yeah, Mandy.
Good point. Thank you.
You're doing good.
Thanks, Summer.
Okay. Any other questions?
Not really a question, but I'd like to say, very interested in what you said. It's all quite complex, and I can't see myself doing the digestive cleanse because of time available to rest and etc., etc. So I suppose the thing is, I'd like to sort of a few small steps, as it were, but I suppose that really ought to be a one-to-one to put me on the right lines, like you were talking to Judy last week. So she obviously knows what's good for her and what's bad for her. So yes. Would you recommend that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because then, Rosie, we can create a program in a way which is manageable for you, which is doable.
Yeah.
And sustainable over a long time, which will fit your
lifestyle. Point me in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly.
I was also interested in, you said about the certain things cause skin problems and with skin, and I couldn't remember what you said the connection was with the Rakta.
Rakta.
If you're a certain type and such like.
So Rakta is the blood tissue.
Yeah.
Red blood cell tissue, and it's governed by Pitta dosha.
Yeah.
So ama collecting in the Rakta maybe will, be activated, have this heat quality, maybe even get from that like a reactive quality. Yeah. So that, we have skin conditions which are aggravated by maybe by stress or by certain foods, because the ama and the heat become reactive to.
I've often thought that things like eczema and things could be a blood condition, and it doesn't matter how much cream you put in it, it's got to come from the inside.
Yeah, absolutely. Very intuitive.
I can't get anybody to hear that as regards someone I know that's got a problem.
Yeah, and you know, it takes a while. Once it's gone into the skin like that, it takes a while. So it takes a lot of faith and a lot of sustaining, you know, keep going with a program. And I have it myself, and I'm really struggling to get rid of this thing that I've had for 2 years in spite of my knowledge.
You're no advertisement.
I know. And, you know, so then I'm really...
Okay,
what I want to do also, which might be of interest, Rosie, is I want to start an Ayurveda coaching program, like a group coaching. So you have your one-to-one and you have your program, and it's, you know, we're all enthusiastic and inspired in the beginning, but it gets to a point where we all taper off and it's hard to sustain.
Yeah.
But with group support and regular, like maybe weekly gatherings like this and sharings, and we can keep on track. So that's something I'll email everybody about, and something to think about.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll leave it there. So it was an hour with the questions. Not too bad. Not too bad. Thanks for joining. I will get this up online. I don't know how quickly, because I really want to make this holiday my holiday time off. But I wanted to get this done. We'll be back to class from the 14th. So I look forward to seeing you all then. In the meantime, any questions, or if you'd like to book sessions for September one-to-one, or if you want to do the digestive reset program, that's good value. You know, write to me if you want the details. If it doesn't fit your schedule, some of you have asked me about that already, then of course join. You can still get the herbs and everything from me. Do it in your own time. You'll get gentle detoxing yoga as well. You'll get educational talks. Yeah, all around. Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Bye everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.